In this video, we're going to take a look at the song Immolation of Night and look at the theory behind of how it was written by Invent Animate. If we take a look at the intro riff, which is also the main riff of the song, we can see that the guitars are tuned to drop E tuning, so E, B, A, D, F sharp, and B. The song is in the key of E and it's in the Phrygian scale mode, and the BPM is 116 at 4/4. The E Phrygian mode is also the third mode of the major scale. It's just starting on the E note, which is the major third scale degree on the major scale. The notes of the E Phrygian mode are E, F, G, A, B, C, D. And the scale degree formula for that is the first, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, and flat 7. The Phrygian mode is one of the most popular scales to use in metal music songwriting. It is a minor scale and it has that flat third to make it a minor scale. And in this case, it's the note G. So Immolation of Night uses these notes throughout this song, E, F, G, B, C, D, which are the root note, which would be E, the minor second note, which is F, the minor third note, which is G, the perfect fifth note, which it would be B, the minor sixth note, which would be C, and the minor seventh note, which is D. You can really see that the riff is clearly in the key of E, as E is used as a pedal note going back and forth from E and F throughout a lot of these riffs here. And F is an important note here. It gives that Phrygian sound. It's the minor second of the scale, which really brings out that Phrygian sound. And the minor second is the one note different from being a minor scale. It's the defining note that makes Phrygian. As we go through and analyze this song, you're going to see that minor second used a lot throughout this song here. So the main riff just repeats these two notes a lot, just in higher octave intervals. If we take a look at the intro part of this song here and the main riff, we can see we're starting on E, so starting on that root note there, and we're pedaling back and forth between the minor second here through these parts of the riff. So in this part of the riff here, it repeats that root note, the E note there. It's a triple octave, so it's going up 21 semitones. And you can see in the second part of this riff where it goes up to the F note, that's the minor second, but in this case, it's up in the octaves there, so it'd be a minor 21st. The minor 21st is basically the same as a minor second, just up in octaves. So this is what that riff sounds like. When we get to the first arpeggio run, the notes are D, C, and B. If we try to put these into a chord that works with the E Phrygian scale, it would look like this. It'd be more like a D minor 7, add 13 with no 3 and no 5. The notes would be D, C, and B. If we listen to the minor 7 chord in relation to the E minor, so the 1 chord of the harmony, we can hear the tension and anticipation. The feeling of this chord is like floating. It's sort of waiting for something, waiting to resolve. So if we take a listen, so that first arpeggio builds up some great tension going into the riff. In the second arpeggio run here, we have the notes E, F, and B. So if we put that arpeggio into a chord as well, it's going to be an E sus2, so the first chord in a sus2 version. And if we play that and hear what it sounds like in context, going back to the root note, so the home note, which is E minor. We can hear that it feels not quite settled even after returning back to the root note, not as settled as the other arpeggio. To be more resolved, it wants to go to like a C major chord, which would be a borrow chord. So if we listen to that, through the third playthrough, we go back to the first arpeggio where it's a bit more resolved, and we go through to the next phrasing here of that riff. Then it plays one more section of the starting riff there, just to end on the E note, so our root note there, where it tremolo picks the E note in 2 E's. So this verse section here is very simple. It's still using the E and F, the root and the minor second from Phrygian. There are some chromatic notes and passing notes it adds in there just for a second here. We've got the F sharp that's added for a little bit there just as a passing note, and some harmonics as well, just to give it some rhythm. Then to lead us into the breakdown, the ending phrase plays an E and a C in some chugs here, which is a borrowed chord from the E minor scale, borrowing the 5 chord, so it's a C major chord. If we remember just a little bit earlier before, that was the chord that felt more resolved, so it's really nice they used it here towards that end section to finish it off here as a good resolve. So here it is again, that 1 chord, the sus2 chord there, where it has the E and the F notes. And that leads us to this little section here where we go back to the root note, pedaling back between the root note and the minor second. This time we're playing that riff in minor 15th, so this F note here is minor 15th, so it's a little bit higher on the octaves, and then we finish back at a double octave on the E there. And once again, you're going to see the trend there with the minor second there being a part of Phrygian and the root note here. We've got the root note on this arpeggio as an E here, and then we go into the F there on the arpeggio, the minor second, back to the root, and then a higher octave of the E back to the minor second to the root note again. So now we're going into the breakdown, and these notes that are both chugged together are the F and B. The F is the minor second note and the B is the perfect fifth, which would be the second chord of the harmony F with no 3 and a flat 5. So if we take a listen here, you're going to really hear that tension on that F note there, the second chord with that flat 5. And it really want to pull back to that home, so that E, that root note there. So after the breakdown chugs there, the song finally adds in the minor third of the song for the first time, which is the G note. And that same phrase is repeated, but when we go into a pitch shift on the guitar there, it drops the song down 4 semitones. So we're moving from the scale E Phrygian all the way to C Phrygian. So that section just repeats, obviously pitched down, playing the root, minor second, and minor third. And because it was pitched down, C was now our home, our root note. So that section finishes off with the now root note of C Phrygian on the root note there, getting ready to transition back into E Phrygian. So pitching all the way back up 4 semitones back into E Phrygian and playing through the main riff once again. Then one more bar of that leading bar that has that little section there with the higher octaves of the main riff there into that minor second arpeggio section there before it transitions into the final breakdown, which are chugs, and the 2 notes are F and B, which would just be an F chord with no 3 and flat 5. Which sounds heavy and awesome. And it's a great composition there and a great use of the E Phrygian scale. So hopefully you learned something new there, and for something to try out for your own new songs. If you want to write in a style like this, I highly recommend learning the Phrygian scale and experimenting with the different intervals within that scale there, writing different arpeggios and different chords leading into different sections as well. If you want to learn more, I'll have some videos up on the cards there that explain the scales in a bit more depth if you're brand new to this sort of stuff. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.